The London School of Economics has started taking evidence in its own Growth Commission to come up with a long-term strategy for the British economy. Among the first witnesses, Larry Summers, one of the most renowned economists in the world, the man who ran US economic policy for Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. He's often portrayed as the man who opposed tough regulation of Wall Street under Clinton and those complex derivatives that turned toxic in the crash. And recently, he's featured in two movies, The Social Network, the one about Facebook, where he was president of Harvard University, and more recently in The Inside Job, which harshly critiqued his economic ideas. A former World Bank chief economist, Larry Summers was made Bill Clinton's Treasury Secretary in 1999. He became one of the architects of the great deregulation of the American economy. But the belief that markets could be largely left to take care of themselves was severely challenged by the events of the financial crisis. Before then, Summers had returned to academia and the post of president of Harvard University. He also made vast amounts of money speaking to financial institutions. He resigned from Harvard amid controversy in 2006, but after 3 years, he was back in government, hired by Barack Obama as his senior economic advisor. He's now rumoured to be a possible contender to lead the World Bank. Well, I spoke to Larry Summers earlier and I asked him if he now thinks the British government needs to spend more to stimulate the economy.
It does seem to me that in Britain, the balance of risks at this point would operate in the direction of doing more to promote demand, perhaps doing more through fiscal policy, government spending and taxing.
Even if that means running up the deficit?
Perhaps through monetary policy.
So your advice to George Osborne is to change course?
There does need to be greater emphasis on reestablishing robust growth as a foundation, rather than taking the position that a healthier fiscal situation will itself be a foundation for improved economic performance.
Paul Krugman has accused you today of a massive economic misjudgment in 2008 because he says you were enthralled to the markets, you were advising Barack Obama not to embark on a big stimulus for fear of what would happen. What's your response to that?
I was in the room. My good friend Paul wasn't. It was my judgment. It was the president's judgment. It was the judgment of almost everyone on the economic team.
You're thought of as one of the great proponents of free markets, unregulated markets, relatively. Yet that kind of capitalism isn't working, is it, for the vast majority of middle-income people right now? I mean, do you wonder if you got it wrong at all?
I've been someone who has urged greater concern about systemic risk, who in the 1990s pushed very hard for controls on predatory lending.
You were one of the great proponents against regulation. That's your reputation. Is it wrong? I mean,
I don't think it's about more regulation versus less regulation. I think it's about effective regulation.
Even Bill Clinton says he was wrong to listen to the wrong advice when it came to derivatives and not regulating them. And that was your advice.
The issue that became a serious problem really wasn't an issue that was on the horizon. Would it have been better if we'd seen it coming? Yes, I suppose it would have been.
But that was your job. I mean,
I think that if you were looking to hold people responsible, you would look to those who proudly posed for pictures with holding saws and taking them to rule books between 2001 and 2008, and those were officials of the Bush administration.
No, it's not to put all the blame on you, but obviously you started on a trajectory which was then continued by the Bush administration.
That is just not credibly.
Well, let me put the argument to you. I mean, the reason I'm asking you this is because a lot of our viewers will really know you from the way you're portrayed in the movies at the moment, which, you know, in films like Inside Job and the Facebook movie, The Social Network. And the argument that is put there is that, you know, there you are moving between the worlds of academia, financial services and government, and, you know, there's a conflict of interest here. And that you prop up big business, big banking with a liberal banking environment. I mean, do you feel you're being traduced in all these portrayals?
Well, I don't understand where you're going. Social network had nothing to do with anything that we're talking about. Inside Job had essentially all its facts wrong. Any suggestion that what I did in the Clinton administration had to do with loyalty to the financial sector, I think is a bit absurd.